What's that? Okay. Um, so we just need to call it to order, okay?
Waited for you.
Um, okay, I will call to order the Cedar Springs Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, June 2nd, 2026. Let us stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States and to the republic one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay. Roll call, Mr. Brimmer.
Present.
Mr. Clayton,
Here.
Ms. Shandell,
Here.
Ms. Owen,
Here.
and Mr. Nixon is here. We'll open the floor to nominations for vice chairperson. Oh, that's Ron. I forgot about that. Yeah, I know. That's why I was like, eh. Okay, do we have any nominations for vice chair?
Nominate Miss Jill.
I was gonna nominate Dustin, but I think he wants. I'll still throw it in there,
What's that?
nominating Dustin.
Oh, okay. So we have Dustin or Miss Owens, Miss Jill over here. Say that again? Right.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Let's vote, that makes it simple.
Yeah. I was so confused, right? I'm sorry, I took some pills. I'm not here. Okay, so I have a nomination for Miss Owens. I will now take a vote for Miss Owens as the vice chair. Miss Shandell,
Yes.
okay. Miss Owens?
Yeah.
Mr. Nixon says yes. Mr. Brimmer?
Yes.
Mr. Clayton?
And that's one. Yes.
Okay. So anything further? Okay.
Hand up.
I, Jill, solemnly swear or affirm that for the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan.
I do. I have a pen, so.
Okay, so now we have a vice chair, Miss Owens. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from the regular meeting of May 12th, 2026?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
all right. Any further? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Okay. I need a approval for our agenda tonight.
Make that motion. I'll support.
Okay. Any further? Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 I,
All opposed? Okay. We are on to public comments. Those citizens wishing to speak on agenda and non-agenda items will be allowed a maximum of 4 minutes each to address their concerns. This is the only time during the meeting that citizens are allowed to address the Planning Commission. Please state your name and address for the record if you would like.
Hello, am I on here? A letter was submitted today from city resident Sue Wolf, so I will read it for the record at this time. Planning Commission members, unfortunately, I cannot attend your June 2nd Planning Commission meeting. I did read all of the documents for your June meeting and watched the YouTube video of your May 12th meeting, as well as read meeting minutes over the last 3 months. I am so grateful the city makes these meetings available through YouTube. While written minutes are important, I find much greater understanding from the videos. I want to thank you for the great effort you have all put into the rewriting of our ordinances. Your commitment to both the residents and investors within our community is appreciated. I witnessed your sincere desire to rebuild relationships and develop collaboration with city investors. All of the changes made over the last 3 drafts are improvements and make this version before you tonight very close to my acceptance. Thank you. I believe your work and these revisions to our existing ordinances will greatly benefit our community in many ways for many years to come. I also listened to Sonia Cronkite's comments on the video with great respect and appreciate. I support her ideas and opinions as I find them to be significantly realistic. I read the proposed draft of the ordinance to amend Chapter 32, which was in your meeting packet, so I am assuming this is the draft you will be discussing tonight. In Section 32-584, intent, I would like to reference the words legally or lawfully nonconforming with importance as you proceed through your work. I hope you will keep these words in your mind every time you see the word nonconformities. I believe the majority of legal nonconforming properties were constructed lawfully within any existing zoning requirements at that time. The duplex properties were purchased anywhere from 20 to 30 years ago, were legally and lawfully constructed at the time. Having lived in this community for over 50 years, I know they had been used as 2-family units prior to our purchase. While I understand and support ordinances and guidelines for new construction, I find trying to make existing properties conform is not realistic or useful. I am thankful you understand most investors are committed to keeping our properties as valued investments within our community. We take our property investment seriously and have kept the properties well maintained and treated our residents with respect and dignity. I tried to sell our duplex 17 First Street this spring, but our buyer was unable to secure a mortgage because of the wording that prohibited him to rebuild if damaged by some catastrophe. Thankfully, he purchased it as a short-term land contract, trusting the city to revise the ordinances so that he can continue to invest in Cedar Springs housing and switch to traditional financing soon. Regarding Section 32-586, number 5, I found this reasonable as written, which no longer lists a percentage of damage that would prevent a repair or rebuilding. Regarding Section 32-586, number 6, I would ask that you also remove the 75% damaged from this section since it would not allow voluntary repairs or rebuilding. I am thinking of a legal non-conforming property that has been on the site for 30 years or more, and the owner wants to make some significant voluntary improvements, but can't do this under this ordinance. It seems that any effort to improve a property without increasing nonconformity should be welcomed, not prohibited. After all, the property is classified as legal and lawfully nonconforming. It is only nonconforming now due to ordinance changes. Regarding Section 32-214, special uses in the single-family district, please consider a minimum of 1 parking space and maximum of 2 per unit. 1 is sufficient. I am hopeful these ordinance changes will guide more zoning districts within the city that have investment properties recently labeled as legal nonconforming. I am hopeful you will create options for tiny and sustainable housing. I read in the minutes Mr. Shargat inquired about this. I would certainly encourage you to consider some options for this. Options for aging parents and or disabled adult children to have some private housing area while still under a family member's supervision are viable and support family. Providing city residents with practical opportunities for housing and to own their own home would be a true blessing. Please keep up the good work, commissioners. You are providing positive opportunities for our community's future. Gratefully and sincerely, Sue Wolf.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Darla. Miss April, is there anyone online? All right. Seeing we have nobody else, I will close the public comments. And we will move on. Conflicts of interest and ex parte communication inquiry. Okay, seeing none. Scheduled public hearings. I don't think we had any tonight, which brings us to other business. Chapter 5, nonconformities, amendment discussion. And who would like to take that for us?
Okay, so in your packet, we included a revised copy of Article 5, which addresses nonconformities. The main thing that we had talked about at the last meeting was dealing with the percentage of destruction of a building that would have to occur before the city would disallow reconstruction unless it conforms. And so what we talked about was drawing a distinction between a building that is voluntarily destroyed versus one that is involuntarily destroyed, like there's a fire or something like that. And so what we agreed upon, or what you asked for, was to allow for the complete restoration of a legal nonconforming structure when it's damaged or destroyed by a wind, fire, flood, or some other catastrophe. And so we added that under subsection 5, A through C, which is highlighted there. And then also we added under subsection 6, some language that allows for if a nonconforming structure is voluntarily demolished by the property owner up to 75% of the replacement value, it may be restored to its original status. But if it's more than 75%, they'd have to bring it into compliance. The reason why we put that in there at 75% was that we often have seen, well, I shouldn't say often, we occasionally see in other communities where they will take down the entire house except for like one wall. They'll leave one wall standing and say, this allows me to basically fit something on the property that's maybe bigger than what we would otherwise allow, and kind of use that as a way to, keep their foot in the door of that non-conforming status and build something that's maybe too big or too close to the property line than what we would otherwise like to see. So that's the justification for the 75%. We can certainly change that number. And that's also the reason why we draw that distinction, because obviously we want to accommodate people. There's a fire or something like that. But sometimes we'll see that people will, buy a house that's, again, they'll have, let's say, a 3-foot side yard setback. It's really close to the property line. They'll leave that wall standing there and then rebuild everything else around it and use it as a way just to kind of like keep themselves at that 3-foot line, when realistically speaking, they should probably just bring the whole thing into compliance. That's our thought process behind number 6. And again, we're happy to adjust that however you want, but I thought it'd be helpful to kind of explain some of the background there. Other than that, we did not change anything else to the ordinance that we didn't go through last time, so I'm not going to go through the entire thing again unless you really want me to. I just want to highlight those couple of changes and sort of explain our rationale for why we draw that distinction. I think from here, again, depending on what you do tonight, we need to schedule a public hearing, I think, on this. So you can make a recommendation on it at your next meeting in July.
Okay.
So if there's any questions, I'm of course happy to answer them.
Can we discuss the 75%? What do you guys like that, not like that? What do you think?
number 6.
I think the 75% is, like Mr. Moore said, I think it's justified. I mean, do you think we should go up or?
Well, if you're gonna voluntarily demolish 3 of the 4 walls of your house, you probably have the ability to update it.
Can we say if you voluntarily, a non-conforming structure is voluntarily demolished up to 100%, you can rebuild it. But you can't increase the non-conforming that existed before or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what number 5 says. So we could just combine that and say regardless of whether or not it was voluntary or not, you're allowed to obviously just fully rebuild. You know, the challenge with that is sometimes that you'll have somebody who probably should come into compliance. Like again, if we have a 2-foot setback on the side yard, it really should be maybe 5 feet. That's something where it might make sense to make them bring that into compliance. The other thing I would point out, and Ms. Wolf addressed this in her letter, you know, if there's something where they're making efforts to improve property or something like that, like we're going to allow, you know, basic safety improvements no matter what. So if it's a matter of I can't make these safety improvements, you know, that's not something that we're gonna fight about. Like if it's an issue where they have to spend a ton of money, more than 75% to bring the house into a, you know, habitable condition, that's something that we're always going to allow. And we have language in section 585 sub 6 that addresses that, made solely to improve accessibility, safety, or aesthetics shall not be considered an expansion to a non-conforming use or structure. So there's kind of a safety component built into this already. This is really our thought here with the 75% is to kind of, I find it can be kind of a loophole that people have used. I've seen it, I've experienced them trying to do that as a way to just, again, fit something too big. That's my thought process. Again, we can always change it or maybe bump it up from 75% to 80 or 85%. I'm not sure what the magic number is there, but there's a lot of times people say, well, if I just leave that one wall up, I can tear down everything else, right? It's like, oh, not really. Yeah, that's not the intent of what we're trying to do. Eventually, with non-conformity, it's not conforming because we want it eventually to comply if possible. But we're not going to make it so difficult that people are losing houses or sort of, you know, tampering the economic vitality of the community. That's not what we're interested in doing.
I think that the key point for me is it says replacement building value. So that would be the value of replacing the building, right? Which is significantly more than the value of probably a 50-year-old building currently, correct?
Yes. So the property value that's like, you know, like your assessed value that you would get on your actual, that's not what that's based on. And that's based on the actual replacement value. If a contractor had to come in and build the whole thing again, that number is going to be different from like what your property taxes say that your land is worth, or what the assessor says that your property is worth.
Okay.
And that value is calculated by the building official. So like PCI would have a number that they would come up with based on that.
Okay.
That's where my point of sticking confusion was too. I'm like, value compared to what size?
It seems like that would be
Does-
75% of replacement value in the
Yeah.
current construction marketplace is a lot of money.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot of money.
Yeah. I mean, I remember having this conversation with, I think it was with my mortgage company back in like during the recession, and you know, our insurance was always going up because the replacement value was always going up, even though my property value was going down. I'm like, what the hell? What's going on? Why is my insurance going up when my house is worth less? I'm like, well, the reconstruction cost is not less. That's still going up because construction costs are still going up. It's just the property values are. So there is a difference there that I think that's important to point out. Yeah, the construction costs at this point in time are very, very high. So 75% of that is going to be a decent sized number, I would guess. But That's why we use construction cost, because if there's a catastrophe, whether it's, or if it's destroyed, voluntary or not, those are the real costs that the property owner is going to be faced with, not the theoretical assessed value, but the actual, here's what it's going to take to put it back, here's the actual cost of materials. But we're happy to change this any way you want.
My concern is the issue of the financing, like Ms. Wolf brought up. What if you were to go to and the 100% takes care of that? The
Yes.
bank says, okay, if it gets burned up or, destroyed, they want it back,
Yep.
And I don't want to get confusing, but what if we did an involuntary at 100% and a voluntary upgrade, keep the 75% so they can't use that as a loophole?
Yeah, and so that's what we have now. So in that highlighted section on page 9 of your packets, the number 5 addresses involuntary. That's 100% full reconstruction of the entire thing. As long as you undertake the replacement or repair within 1 year. As long as you're not increasing the degree of the nonconformance, you can go 100% back to the way it was. Then under subsection 6, that's where we get into the voluntary destruction, where it's 75%.
Are we thinking that 75% is not enough? I'm not understanding that part. Like, I'm looking at Ms. Darla because I'm not understanding.
So I mean, so Ms. Wolf, her letter wants it to be 100%. That doesn't mean you have to do that. That's just what her letter indicates. We could, and 75%, like there's, we're trying to be pretty generous with that number.
Right.
But there's no magic behind what that is. I've seen that used in some other communities. That's a pretty large chunk of the value of the replacement value of the property. But if you want to take that to a higher number, that's totally fine. Make it less restrictive and bump it up to 80 or 85%. We can certainly do that.
So let me ask this here. So if the 75% of the replacement, so are we talking like structural and exterior wise? Or if they wanted to remodel something on the inside?
It would be, so it would include, as I understand it, it would include the basic, like, walls, roof, shingle, all that stuff. It probably not include like your personal property inside. So it wouldn't include your stove and your refrigerator and stuff like that.
So if you decided to redo your kitchen and bathroom, which is like most of your cost of your home, that wouldn't affect in this.
Right, and here, because they wouldn't be doing anything outside of the building anyways, that's not gonna matter.
So just if like the footprint is changing or the exterior is being
Yeah.
adjusted.
Correct. This is talking about the voluntary demolition of the structure. So if you're
Okay.
redoing your kitchen, you're not destroying the structure
Right.
of your house, right? The structure itself is fine, just some stuff inside. We're talking about somebody who demolishes their entire half of their building, wants to expand it or remodel it or something. We've seen this in the past when somebody has, so the loophole that comes to mind is that we have some clients that have a lot of lakefront property. There will be a small cabin on the lake. Once it's maybe 1,000 square feet and it's only 3 feet from the property line on one side. They will leave that one wall up that's 3 feet away from the property line. They'll tear down everything else and build something 4 times larger. Then we'll use that 3-foot setback as a way to basically force a bigger building onto the lot. Say, see, I can maintain that 3 feet and it's totally fine, right? That's where we push back and we're like, well, that's not what we're intending to accommodate something like that. We're looking for helping people through a disaster, helping them get insurance, helping them build have someone take 1,000 square foot house, turn it into a 4,000 square foot house that's way too big for the lot. Shoot yourself into a shallower setback place. They don't have, that's the situation where I've seen this happen a few times.
And that safety, somewhere you said there was a spot in there that would address the like safety changes.
Yep, so if you go up a little bit, in
One,
32,
number one.
585 on the previous page, item 6, so it's right above where it says 32, 586 non-conforming structures, right above that, number 6. Addition of fire escapes, wheelchair ramps, dumpster enclosure, similar improvements made solely to improve accessibility, safety, or aesthetics shall not be considered an expansion, the non-conforming use or non-conforming structure. So regardless of how much it costs, if your roof, your, the joist, your trusses are falling apart, they're rotting, your roof is gonna cave in, you're always going to let them make that replacement. I don't know how much it costs, that's always gonna be something to file.
All right, and that's what number 1 under 586 covers too.
Mm.
Okay.
Yep, exactly.
So like if your back wall of your house, because of all the rain we had, started to become structurally unsound, that
Yes.
could be replaced without
Absolutely.
any of these issues.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
I mean, I don't see that a insurance company or finance company is going to have a problem with it because this is voluntarily. They're looking more for,
What 5 covers?
right, fire, flood, and all that, correct? I mean, if they're expecting the guy that they're giving the loan to take a sledgehammer to his house, maybe they don't give him a loan. I don't know.
And that's not usually covered under insurance anyways.
Right, right. And so I think it's fine, but what do y'all think?
I think how we have it separated now to with the voluntary and non-voluntary
Mhm.
part is a lot more clear. And with it being like you said, with the replacement value, that clarifying understanding of that makes it more understandable, and having the clauses in there about, structural safety and repairs for, all different kinds of safety or upgrades for ADA or whatever, that
I'd say
makes sense.
I'm in support of the 75%. I think it
Yeah.
makes sense with the requirements in 5, and then just what we've talked through here. I mean, this really is just a safeguard against somebody
Mhm.
coming in, knocking the house down, putting up a bigger house, and I think we can all get behind that. I don't see this affecting, the average, I'll call it the average person that's, out here trying to, rent out properties and things like that. So I would say I'm behind the 75%. I don't think moving that up would necessarily benefit anyone at this point.
Problem with that is that the current owners are gonna be the owners forever, because nobody's gonna be able to buy it because they won't be, the bank wants it, say, I'll give you the loan. If it gets destroyed, I want the exact same structure back there, so I get my investment back.
And you would get that.
That's what 5 is.
And I guess.
If a non-conforming structure is damaged or destroyed by wind, fire, flood, or some other catastrophe, it may be completely restored to its original non-conforming status, and then there are conditions that it has to be met. But it can go back to the non-conforming status.
Okay, if somebody can buy it
Yep,
and have it burned down and have it go back to I mean, what you're trying to do, I want to make sure
Exactly.
somebody can buy it and get financing.
that's
Yes.
exactly what we're doing. That's exactly where
And
we
then
all are.
75% prevents them from putting a mega mansion in
Yeah.
on a 1-bedroom cottage or whatever.
Right.
I get it. Okay. Then I'm good.
All right, so we will make a recommendation. Is that right, Miss April?
So I think we need to schedule a public hearing on this for the next meeting, so we'll plan on that for
Yes.
July, and then you'll make a recommend. Okay. 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 Correct. Okay. Take care of that as soon
Great.
as possible.
That sounds awesome. All right, we will move on to multifamily in R1 amendment.
So this is a continuation. This starts on page 14 of your packet. This is sort of a continuation of that conversation that we were having at the last meeting. We did not make any major changes here because just from the tenor of the conversation, it sounded like you guys needed some more time to let this one marinate. We do have, so subsection, just to again, walk through this again. 32.214 would permit multifamily as a special land use in R1. It just adds it to that list of special uses in that district. 32.697 includes special land use standards for multiple family dwellings. So here we add some language that requires an R1 a multiple family dwelling shall be designed to look like a one family dwelling. So it's consistent with the character of existing buildings. Maximum density of 12 units per acre. Garage must either be recessed or placed to the rear of the building with side or rear entry. Off-street parking shall comply with the parking requirements of 32.617. And one change that we did make is the lot area requirement. So in your other zoning districts, you have a minimum lot width of 66 feet for single family, and then for two family or multifamily or for two family, that minimum lot area increases to 80 feet of width and 10,000 square feet of area. So that's 80 by 125. So we basically carry that same provision forward. So
Okay.
we are this, now again, you might not agree with this, and if you don't, that's fine, just let me know. Thought is, so this would reduce the pool of available properties, R1, have multifamily dwelling to anything that's a standard 66-foot city lot that would not be eligible under this current draft. So it'd have to have a little bit bigger property. And then from there, we also have a maximum of 5 dwelling units per building. And then the other part of that conversation we started to have last month is what we're going to do about parking. So we had discussed both having adjusting downward the parking requirement for multifamily in R1, or maybe have a maximum limit or something like that, because the concern that we have heard in the past from communities is that you're gonna have a building on an 80-foot lot that has 4 or 5 units in it, and you have 8 cars, there's no place to put them all. So where we kind of left it last month is that planning commission, I don't think, had come to much of an agreement about how you want to handle parking, whether you want to reduce that number of required parking spaces from its current number, which is 2 spaces per unit, down to 1, or come up with something else, or put a maximum number of parking spaces on there, or how do you want to handle it. So that's kind of where we left it, and it's here for further discussion by the planning commission. It's finalized at this point.
I believe we had asked Ms. Cronkright last week, and she had said that 1 space per unit. Is that right, Ms. Cronkright? 1 space per unit was sufficient? So should we just leave it 2 per dwelling? Right.
So if we have a max of 5, and it's 5 units, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if a house has 5 units in it, they're gonna need 10 parking spaces.
Right.
Under the current ordinance, yes.
Yes.
And so one of the things that comes up from time to time as we talk about this is that maintaining the 2-unit or the 2 spaces per unit requirement makes it, in a lot of cases, very, very difficult for this to ever happen. And so the question then becomes, what's the point of doing this? If you're going to make the parking requirements of owners that it's almost impossible to fit it all on the property anyways. And we're doing a whole bunch of work, we're not really accomplishing anything. Because people can actually do it because we have to park 10 cars on the property.
What about, now, what about 6 spaces? So you would have 1 extra space. So you have 1 space if you have 5 units, but you would have 1 extra space if you needed it. Does that seem?
So like 1 per unit plus 1?
Right, so if you have a 5 unit, but then you put in 6 spaces, so now you have 1 per unit, but you have an extra one just in case. That would probably be better than the 2 per unit. Oh, geez.
So we could, also look at requiring parking per bedroom. That like just require like 1 space per bedroom. So a studio or a 1-bedroom apartment would require only 1 space. 2-bedroom apartment would require 2 spaces. So if you have a building that has, 2 studios and a 2-bedroom, then you would require 4 spaces for those 3 units. For example.
I guess,
That sounds kind of. You have some that have 3 or 4 bedrooms and like 4 units? Whoa.
here's my question. So if we're looking at enforcement of the rules, I think the main concern is if we drop the number, let's say to 1, just because that's like the lower bound in my opinion. If we drop it to 1, how do we ensure that those cars that basically if the unit is designed to have 3 cars at it, it's a 3 unit, 3 cars, how are we ensuring that the 4th car doesn't show up and is an impediment to the existing R1 area that exists around it? That's more my question at this point is how do we enforce, and like have we enforced any of that before is maybe another question. I don't know if we have that data or not, but
Yeah, so I mean, there's certainly going to be times where, because the city does not allow overnight on-street parking, correct? Okay, so yeah, I mean, we could have some times where there is an enforcement problem. But again, that's something that the city would just have to address. I think within, the property owners can certainly designate, certain spaces for certain units, just like they do any place else. And they can, let people know that like, look, this unit comes with 1 parking space. If you have 3 cars, then maybe that's not the right place for them. I don't know.
it seems to me like that's a selling point that the tenant or that the owners can sell, right? Are you willing to pay for a 2 parking spots kind of thing? That seems to be it's capitalism. That seems to be a selling point that they can use to sell their property more efficiently. So I think the question to me is just, yeah, can we properly vet, how many cars are there and that we're not, affecting the neighbors, so to
Yeah.
speak.
But here's the other catch of that. If you have, let's say, a 5 unit, okay, if you have 5 units in one building, that means you need to have 10 parking spaces. That's a lot of real estate, and you're not going to have that. So you're already not going to be in compliance because to put 10 parking spaces, they got to be 8 feet wide, I believe. And
9 by 18.
what's that?
9 by 18 is a typical.
9 by 18. I was thinking 8 by 20. So 9 by 18, I mean, think about that. And then you got to have 10 of those. That's a lot of real estate that you just lost. There's no green space that we wouldn't have, and we want our trees, we want our green space that our,
Kids complain.
yeah, that the kids can play in and stuff. So I think dropping it to one, will be beneficial. And that's why we have, somebody in the audience here that we can ask questions because she has done this a long time.
Yeah, just to be clear, I would be in favor of a minimum of 1 and a maximum of 3. I think that seems to be the sweet spot for me, so we don't turn the whole property into a parking lot. With the maximum of 3, I wasn't originally thinking about that, but Andy's comments really helped me with that.
Mhm.
I think
Um,
do you mean maximum of 3 per unit?
Sorry, yes, yeah, minimum of 1 per unit, maximum of 3 is what I would, I agree with that. I know Sue's, letter here that I'll reference also said the same thing, minimum of 1, maximum of 3. And it sounds to me like we can, at least to some extent, and, enforce that with code. I think that will be kind of a mess to try to enforce. Just because how do you know what car goes to what unit? I mean, I think there's a lot of, it will be difficult to enforce. But that being said, if we know where these units are, which we do, I think it will be possible to enforce that to a reasonable
But if they
degree.
have a 5 unit, a if they have 5 apartments in one unit, now you just cut it down to 3.
No, 5. It's 1 per unit. Minimum 1 per unit, so it'll be minimum 5, a maximum 50, or maximum 15.
Okay, because I heard you say maximum of 3, and I was going, wait a second.
Yeah, no, per unit. Yeah, that's all per unit.
Per unit.
Okay. Does that sound?
So, sorry, so like our ordinance is like the minimum requirements, right? And they could always add more, but this is just minimum.
Typically, yes. So unless you specify a maximum, as Dustin mentioned, ordinarily in your parking table, those are all minimum numbers. So it says 2 per unit. If someone wants to do 4 per unit, hey, have at it. But there are some communities, and usually they're larger ones like Grand Rapids, but a lot of communities are moving towards ordinances that either establish maximums or that just eliminate all parking requirements completely. Just let the property owners, the marketplace figure it out.
Oh, I don't like that.
So absent something like that, I think that either doing it on a per bedroom basis is maybe it's, it seems pretty equitable, and from what I've been told by some developers, that's pretty close to what the actual demand tends to be in aggregate. But otherwise, I think if you put a maximum of 2 or 3 spaces on there, as well, I think that works, because if you have
Yeah.
4 units, that means that you can provide 4 spaces, or you can provide 5 spaces, or you can provide 6 spaces or 7 spaces. It gives you a pretty decent range in there
Mm-hmm.
that I feel like we should be able to accommodate everybody at that point.
Yeah, because if you
unless there's
have,
really big units with a whole bunch of bedrooms.
I think I like that if we do a minimum of one space, but not more than 4 spaces per unit. That would probably, is that what we're thinking?
Dustin had said a max of 3 per unit.
3, sorry, 3, Dustin.
I'm
Thank
not set
you.
on the, I just don't, I think that the concern is parking lot, turning it into a parking
Yeah.
lot. I think if you
Right.
say 3, that,
And Sue's was 2, suggestion was 2, so. I mean, however we want to go. I do like reducing the minimum to 1.
Because like Ms. Cronkrite said, if she has a studio or if she has one building that has, let's say, 3 studios in it and she's got 6 spaces, she could drop that down to 3 and she could do something with the other 3 spaces. She could even
Put
put,
your storage shed up.
or she could turn it into green space. We love green space.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's amazing. Um, so, so minimum of 1 space, maximum of 3. What do you think? You like that? Okay. Should we vote on that or is that good?
If there's consensus there, I think we'll just update the ordinance to.
That sounds
that.
great.
And then, if you're comfortable with the rest of it.
Oh, yes.
We could, yeah, schedule that for a public hearing for July meeting, as long as I can get the notice written in the next.
That
12
would
hours.
be.
Maybe I'll just do it when I go. Just get it done. Get it.
Right.
Good
Yeah.
with that, then I'm all set here. And I think that's all I had for these 2 items.
Actually, I have a quick question, because like I said, I understand having multiple units and that kind of thing, but like I have a 1-family home, but I have a really long driveway, so am I locked into being a 1-family home and only having 2 spaces per mine, or does that not come into play?
Minimum.
So if
It's
it's a
minimum.
Single family home, then the minimum is 2. And there is no maximum. But if you have
Okay.
if you have a long driveway, the ordinance allows for you to use your driveway as. So.
I was just trying to understand how that is all coming
Yeah.
into play, so.
Mhm.
This is multi-family in R1, so
Mhm.
Right.
it's got.
But my house used to be multifamily.
Oh.
So Steve had it originally built where there was like a full basement with a kitchen and stuff like that. So I was like in my head trying to picture, but I have no intention of turning that back into that, but I was just trying to understand what that would actually look like.
Yeah,
So,
so to that point, if somebody wanted to do a conversion, right, if they had a single family, wanted to split it up into 3 units, or they had 2 units presently, and they wanted to split it up into 3, so once you get to 3, that's what makes it multi-family. So if somebody wanted to split it, you know, for a 2-unit building into a 3-unit building, and part of that process is so they come to planning commission with a plan, show us what they're doing, layout is. We could then count the units, look at how many bedrooms there are. Say, okay, we've got 3 units. We know that you need to have at least 3 spaces, not more than 9. Look at the site plan, make sure those are accounted for. That gives you the information you need to make a decision on it. So it allows for not only construction, but also just a conversion. Add an additional unit that gives us the oversight and you the oversight to make sure that they're. And then you can put conditions on it. Well, if there are concerns, if there's concerns about guest parking or neighbors or something like that, you have to work, tell them to sign it or tell them to add a, no. It's like.
All right. Any other discussion on the nonconformities or the amendment? All right, we will move on to correspondence, calendar, same thing, Miss April. Okay. Upcoming projects, Miss Darla.
I was just telling Andy before the meeting, I have been on the phone and meeting with people, like, I think all I've done in the last couple weeks of zoning. There's lots on Maple Street, Habitat Humanity bought them. Andy and I met with them a year ago, I think it was.
Roughly.
Now they're coming back and saying, well, yeah, we do 10, so, well, show us what you mean by 10, you know, so give us a preliminary sketch, so we can look at that, working on that. There's another lot put back on the market, 197 East Elm. You remember that? She came to us, for a variance. She wanted her front of the house closer to the street. We said, no, you can accommodate, you have plenty of property.
Oh.
Fit.
Mhm.
It's up for sale, so people are calling on that. What can I put there? What does it sell? Just questions, no problem there. 427 South Main Street, that's Charles Reeves' house. He's got 6 acres there. Spent almost an hour with the developer today. His proposal is to split the property where the current house is and do one thing with that, and then the other, like, 4.5 acres. This question, you know, how many buildings, how many apartments, zoned R3. So how many units can I get on there? I said, well, have you walked it? Is it wet? You know, I mean, I can tell you what the zoning allows, but said he has walked it, and
Where is that
he's an
at?
experienced developer. Street and Northland Drive,
Oh, the Christmas house?
Mhm.
I didn't know there was 6 acres over there.
6 acres.
That would be wet.
Huge
A
tree.
lot of questions.
Yeah, because that would be wet.
It's fact that our ground.
Okay, Art, okay.
And then Andy, we met with Kent County Sheriff's Department. They want to put in some underground storage tanks, so we're researching that. All different areas, so all good stuff.
That makes sense. I thought they had fuel tanks over there already for the police vehicles. That's strange. Okay, staff comments. Back to you, Mr. It's April, city clerk. Okay, planning commission members, anything?
I'm excited to bring these up to, you know, to hear what the public has to say on them all.
Yes.
Public hearing here, so it's time.
Yes.
Sorry, one thing.
Ooh.
Training next Tuesday, 6 to 8:30. You will be here, John,
Yes.
and Clay, you'll be here for sure. Okay. I just need to let presenter know to do a certificate.
Yeah, so they need, they have certificates, and they need to know how many copies of the materials to provide, so they provide, so you'll get a printed handout from MAP that has the slideshow, and then I will do the presenting for them. So it'll be, it's pretty long, but there's lots of breaks for questions and stuff, so we'll try not to be too boring.
Are you bringing cookies?
Sure, me too.
Yeah.
Snacks.
We do not have a city council representative at the moment.
So.
Hey, we will have Miss Rose back. Report of the planning consultant, Mr. Moore.
Nothing further, just looking forward to the training next week, so. See if I
All
can
right.
come with lots of questions.
Keep looking for the clock. All right, if there is nothing else, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:59.